Smart 24, driving business.
Hello there and a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very glad that you're doing so. This is Financial Markets and my name is Anthony and my co-host
Nampija Gloria.
And we are here to give you another fresh edition of the Financial Markets where we of course get to discuss these markets in depth and get to bring experts on board and market players and stakeholders within the market to give you an insight into what the markets look like. It's another day and we are looking at the brokerage. That's our topic today. We are still moving with dollar bill traders, and today we are still hosting the Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mr. Mutumba Collins. Mr. Mutumba, you're most welcome back to Financial Markets.
Thank you for having me on again. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Today, last time, when just reflecting from what we had in our previous conversations, one of the things that stood out was brokerage. And you kept on mentioning if the broker does this and then the investor does this, this will happen. And many people, of course, highlighted the challenges they are facing with brokerage. Let's start with, first of all, you defining for us brokerage. What are some of the things that define a broker? Why do we need brokerage in the first place? Because in any other market, we always want to get there ourselves. When I want something online, I will go to a website, which I know probably gives that service or that product, and I want to get it myself. Now, when it comes to financial markets, be it the stock market, be it the forex markets, why in the first place do I have to go through a broker?
Okay, that's a good question, Anthony. So, like I mentioned last time, if you want to trade the financial markets, you're going to have to use or go through what we call a broker. In Forex, we call them CFD providers because the word broker is not the actual, it's called a CFD provider, which is a contract for difference provider. So why you need a broker is because this markets, the major participants is, like I mentioned last time, it's the banks, the pension funds, which you call basically what we call the interbank market or the spot market. So in the spot market, you will find large transaction sizes. In other words, Bank A is buying dollars worth, let's say 1 million, which you as a retail trader or a poor trader won't be able to transact direct with the bank. So for you to get access to that spot market, you're going to need a broker. And I think later on we shall discuss the different types of brokers. But basically, they're going to fill in your order with the market so that you can be able to make a profit or lose some money, of course. But basically, you need a broker to participate in these markets. Yes.
So, Mr. Collins, who exactly is a broker?
Okay, so a broker is an intermediary between the spot market and the retail trader. So
you're using those terms that are scaring our viewers. When you first of all call them contract for difference, now you're talking about the spot market. If you could break down some of that language for our viewers to really get the point.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the spot market is basically what we call the primary market. Okay. In the primary market, like I mentioned, that's why you'll find the big institutions like the banks, pension funds. So these guys are transacting large volumes of money. Okay. So you, as a trader, let's say retail trader is just me, Gloria, Anthony. It doesn't matter whether I have $1 million to trade, I'm still a retail trader because the capacity I have is not equivalent to a JP Morgan. Okay? Those guys are transacting large volumes. And like I said, the primary market, which we call the interbank or spot market, there is going to be large transactions, okay, which are worth millions and billions of dollars. Now, I'm not going to transact $1,000 with a bank that is willing to, let's say for example, Bank A wants to buy, let's say 200 million US dollars, okay? They were willing to buy that from Bank B. Now, me as Colin, if let's say bank A wants to buy that $1 million from me, I don't have that money. You get it? So I can't transact that much. Okay, but they can transact with bank B because bank B has the capacity. I don't know if you're following.
Absolutely.
Okay, so basically these banks transact with each other in large volumes. Now
So banks are like the big forex traders, if we so to say, because they keep buying in and buying out money in different currencies.
Okay, yes. So for example, like I mentioned, let's look at a scenario of Apple. Okay, perhaps Apple wants to buy spare parts from China. Okay, they're going to need the RMB, is it the Chinese yuan or whatever it is called. So they're going to need to transact a large amount of money. So let's say Apple is in America, right? So they need to buy, let's say, 200 million worth of spare parts from China. So they're going to buy the Chinese currency from the Chinese banks. You understand? So they have dollars, $200 million. They go to the bank in China to buy the Chinese.
Because
yuan.
the purchase has to be in yen.
Exactly.
And so they have to make that transaction.
Exactly. So they have to buy that quantity, which you, as let's say calling, you cannot transact. You don't have that much money. You understand? So when I talk about the primary market, which is a spot market, there's going to be large transactions because these guys are perhaps buying raw materials, they're buying spare parts, or they're just transacting, just basically large amounts of money.
To interject again, there's always this difference between buying and selling a currency.
Yes.
We always see two prices on a currency, the buying price and the selling price. Could you distinguish when does someone buy a currency and when does someone sell? It almost looks like the same thing, because when I go to the bank and I want dollars, or the Forex Bureau, am I buying the dollars? When am I buying them, and when am I selling?
Okay, so look at it this way. If you're going to, let's say, a neighboring country, you're going to Kenya, you're not going to use Uganda shillings to transact in Kenya. You're going to need the Kenyan shillings, right? So perhaps you're at the border, you need Kenya shillings. So you have Uganda shillings, right? So you're going to sell your Uganda shillings and buy Kenya shillings.
Am I selling because I'm Ugandan, or I'm selling because of the fact that I am in need of Kenyan shillings?
Yes, you're selling because you need the Kenyan shillings.
Okay.
Because you're going to use the Kenyan shillings to transact. Okay? You're not going to use the Uganda shillings. So you're going to sell the Uganda shillings and buy the Kenyan shillings so that you can transact in Kenyan shillings. Yes.
So it depends on the need of the other currency.
Yes.
If you need the other currency to transact, you're buying that currency.
Exactly. While selling off your currency.
While selling off your currency.
Yes.
Which one is higher? Is it the selling price, the buying price, or it depends?
Now, according to, of course, now if you go to the brokerage terms or in trading terms, you'll find that there's what we call the bid and ask price.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bid price is going to be the price that you can sell. Okay. So if I'm selling Uganda shillings, I'm going to sell it at the bid price. The bid price always comes first. If you go to a Forex Bureau, they will display two prices, right?
Yeah.
You have the ask, okay. These are technical terms, okay? So you have the bid and the ask price. The bid price is always going to come first, or the currency on the left. Then the exchange rate on the right will be the ask price. So meaning, if I go with Uganda shillings and I want to sell them off, I'm going to sell them at the price on the left.
Selling price, yes.
Exactly. Which
on
is
my
the bid
currency,
price.
yes.
Exactly. Then if you want to buy,
Meaning
you're going to buy on the price which is on the right. Okay, so that's what we call the ask price. So we have the bid and ask price. So obviously, think about it as a businessman. Okay, if someone is selling something to you, you're going to buy it at a low price,
at the lowest price. Yeah.
Then if you're going to buy if someone wants to buy from you, you're going to sell at a high price.
At the highest.
Okay, so meaning the buying price is always going to be higher than the selling price.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
In primary market.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where we were. You said large transactions between the banks and the financial institutions occur on the primary market. How does the broker come in? Is he coming into the primary markets or at the secondary level?
Okay, so basically, like I said, we have the spot market, which is, you will find a large pool of transactions. So these banks are transacting in large sizes. Okay. Now, those are the guys that generally move the prices that you see on the charts because they're transacting big. Okay, so as a broker, the broker comes in as an intermediary. So this is the definition of a broker. He's going to be the intermediary between the spot market and the retail trader. Who's a retail trader? A retail trader is someone like me a poor trader basically, because you're transacting less, you're transacting little money.
Probably that would be Gloria, not you, at this point in time.
No.
Yes, probably. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so retail trader, trust me, even if you had $1 million to transact,
you're still a retail trader.
Yes,
wow.
Because you don't have the capacity to pull off large transactions like these banks.
Not even Elon Musk with his $1 billion.
No, Elon Musk, well, these are guys who have hedge funds. Hedge funds have their own capacity, which is a bit higher than the retail trader.
Yeah.
So in the market, of course, we have a hierarchy where we'll have the major banks, and you have the retail, so you have the hedge funds, the brokers, and then you have the retail traders.
Wow.
Yes. But the broker is just an intermediary to bridge the gap between the spot market and what we call the retail market. Yes.
Okay. So, for example, I'm this retail trader. How do I choose a broker? Like, what do I consider when choosing this broker? Like, what segments should I look at?
Okay, so choosing a broker is a very interesting and good topic, because a lot of people get it wrong. First of all, there's different types of brokers, okay? But before we can get into that, let's see if we can demystify how does someone find the right broker. So first, you're going to have to do some research, okay? Because there are so many brokers. Like I mentioned last time, the Forex market is decentralized, meaning you can transact with a number of brokers. Okay, because remember, a broker is an intermediary to give you access to the spot market. So first you need to do research. Who is this broker? So you need to know the location, where this broker located. Two, look at the licensing. Now, when it comes to the licensing, different we have different jurisdictions of which these brokers are licensed, and some jurisdictions are stricter than others. Like for example, it's going to be hard for a broker to get a license in the UK. Okay, and the regulatory body for brokers in the UK is called the FCA, which is the Financial Conduct Authority. Okay, they give the licensing to the brokers.
Kind of like CMA of
exactly,
Uganda. Yeah.
Exactly. In Uganda we have CMA. In Kenya you have CMA Kenya. In South Africa you also have a regulatory body. Okay, they basically regulate the financial markets in those particular jurisdictions. Now, like I mentioned, different jurisdictions have different restrictions. Like it's not easy for a broker to get a license in the UK compared to how easy a broker can get a license in South Africa. So if you're going to trade a lot of money, you want to trade with a broker that is well licensed. Okay, they need to have at least 2 to 3 strong licensing, because basically in Uganda we don't have any license for brokers, especially Forex brokers. There's no license. So
I think stockbrokers do have a license, but the Forex haven't actually been licensed.
Forex doesn't have. However, our neighbors are ahead on that, because CMA Kenya regulates Forex brokers. So I think there's a conversation around that to have this in place in Uganda.
Which we definitely must hold here on the show.
Yes, sure.
And when you talk about these licenses, is there a possibility of someone having a license that cuts across maybe a region or a continent? Because I understand, for example, we have the East African community, and you're saying in Kenya we have licenses of these Forex brokers, and yet in Uganda we only have stockbroker licenses. So is there any chance of someone who is licensed in Kenya to help a retail trader in Uganda carry out trade? Or we have an instance, for example, like what Ham is facing right now, making a transaction with a bank that's licensed in Kenya, and that doesn't hold for Uganda's case. So it means whatever they did was not in the law as per Ugandan standards. Is that the case as well for the brokers?
So, good question. You see, when you're choosing a broker, like I was mentioning, we have, of course, licensing. So it's better to find a broker that has a license in a very strict jurisdiction, because you will never find, the UK is not going to offer support to a Ugandan trader. However, for a broker to have a license in the UK, they are more legit than a broker who has a license in, let's say, a less strict jurisdiction, like let's say South Africa. Okay, because the requirements for you to get the license in the UK
are much stricter.
Harder. Exactly. Yeah. So by the time the broker takes that initiative to actually get that license, they're really serious about their business. Okay, because as you know, in Africa, there's it's I don't want to say this, but the corruption is high. So it's much easier for a broker to get a license because they can buy their way into getting that license. But in the UK or in such, like for example, the USA, to get a license there is not as easy as getting it, for example, in Kenya, getting it in South Africa, getting it in some offshore region. You get it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about, for example, besides the license, what other things, what are the underlying factors can you consider? Because as like you've mentioned, in some areas where it's less strict, like in East Africa, for example, you could still find someone who is licensed, but they're not the best broker for you.
Yes.
So what are some of the other things that need to be ticked on the box?
So I mentioned you need to first of all do your research, find out the licensing, find out the type of broker, which I think we'll touch on a bit later.
Yeah.
Then you need to see the conditions that this broker is offering. That will do with in terms of spread.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I mentioned spread in the last show that we had, which is basically the difference between the market on the spot market and what you're getting here on the retail level.
Yeah.
So you need to look at the spread, because some brokers have high spread, which may not favor you as, you see, as traders, we also have different types. We have scalpers. These are guys who are basically in the market for a short period of time. So he's trading for, let's say, 15 minutes to make his money and he's done. Then we have the day traders. These are guys who are in for the whole day. Then we have the swing traders. These are guys who are in for a couple of days. Then we have position traders. Now, these are usually institutions that hold positions for months and years. Okay? So if you're a scalper, meaning you're in the market for a short period of time, you need a broker that has very low spread, because usually your target is about, like, let's say 10 pips. So I know the language is getting harder with pips.
We'll get there. We'll get the frequency. Yeah.
Pips are basically how we measure price. So the exchange rate moves up in pips. It can go up in like 100 pips, 200 pips, 10 pips, 5 pips.
It's like the velocity of
exactly. Like for example, if the UGX exchange rate, UGX to USD, moves from 3,750.02 to, let's say, 3,750 point, let's say 4, it has moved up perhaps 2 pips or 40 pips. You get it? Okay. So we measure that increment or decrease in pips. And
is that time rated, or it's just a movement?
It's just movement. Like how you can measure sugar, kilograms. So price moves up in pips.
So basically it's a price change.
Exactly, the price change.
Why do you guys go? I love it. Gloria noted they always get the terms, and I think this is what is discouraging most people. You're calling a change a peep, so someone is going to hear a peep, and definitely they're going to turn off their ears. Yes, you know, but it's just a simple change.
Yeah, of course, like I mentioned, there are some technical terms, and we can't do away with them, because if someone is going to be involved in these markets, you need to learn these basic terms, because you're going to hear them a lot. So basically, like I was saying, you need to find out the spread or the transaction costs with working with this broker. So some brokers have much more favorable conditions depending on what type of trader you are. Because if I'm a position trader, I don't mind the spread, because I'm holding my trade for months and weeks. So it doesn't matter whether the broker is going to charge me 5 pips, 10 pips, doesn't matter. But if I'm a scalper, which means I'm in for a short period of time, it matters, because my profit margin, perhaps I'm targeting price to move, let's say 15 pips, and the spread is like 5 pips. That's the transaction fee that is being charged by the broker. It means now I have to first work for those 5 pips before I can make more. You get it?
Because that's the allowance of the broker.
Exactly.
5 pips, and your aim is 15.
Exactly. So he has already taken up on your profit margin. So now you need to actually make more to actually make money. You get it? So you need to look for different conditions that the broker is offering. Then the other thing, you need to know who exactly is behind this brokerage. Find out more about the company, who's the CEO, what do they do, how do they execute my trades, who are their liquidity providers, etc. There's a lot of things that you look for, but the first thing you need to find out, where is this broker located, the license, type, and the trading conditions. And also the type of broker. Yes.
Okay, for instance, who's your broker? Like Dollar Bills, whom do you use as your broker?
Okay, so as Dollar Bill, we use Light Finance brokerage firm. It's a fully regulated broker. Of course, not regulated in Uganda because, like I mentioned, we don't regulate forex brokers in the country. but they have a license for FCA, which is this is a regulatory body in the UK. They have SISEC, which is a regulation in Cyprus, and their office is in Dubai. So yeah, we use Light Finance basically. The conditions are very good. I don't want to go into it because I don't think that's the topic for today. But they have very good conditions. In case you're a forex trader, I would encourage you to do your research about Light Finance, and yeah, you'll find that it's a good broker to use. Yes.
We're going to take a very short breather, and now I think I'm getting into the frequency of peeps and spread and the brokers, and I hope you are as well as our viewer here. When we come back, we want to look at the different types of brokers. Remember, our viewer, we mentioned first of all the fact that you need to know the location, and that is one thing, but also does this broker have a license, be it a stock broker, be it a forex market broker. Then you find out the type of broker. Depending on the type of broker and your personal interests, definitely you will choose the broker that suits your interest, and then find out the spread of that broker. That's the difference between the primary market or the spot market as well as the retail market, and then who is behind. You always have to attach the face and the name to the broker. So let's take a very short break, and when we return, we get to look at the types of brokers, but we also get to look at the technological advancements under which now brokers are operating. I don't think now we need to go to their offices. I don't know if you've been to UK to just get this broker to have you carry out your transactions. So what are some of the advancements that have come in place to help ease the work of brokerage? My name is Anthony, together with
Gloria.
And we are Financial Markets. We return shortly after this commercial break.